Okay, so I have a question for you. Parsha's told us. Beginning of the Parsha, Rivka and Yitzhak don't have kids. How many years? 20 years. Shnai mikra ve'echad targum. Somebody's ready. Why doesn't he have kids for 20 years? Rivka, pretty big tzadikis? 20 years. Avraham Avinu, how many years did he not have kids? 99 years. Do you have a problem with Sarah? Is she not a tzadikis? According to most Midrashim, she gets married at the age of 25. When she's 90, she gives birth. That means 65 years. What did they do wrong? Is the Kodesh Baruch Hu upset with them? It's not my question. It's a question of the Gemara. Yevamos Samech Daled Amud Beis. The Gemara says, why? Mipnei ma hayu avoseinu akurim. Why were they barren for so many years? And the Gemara says, Mipnei she'HaKodesh Baruch Hu misave litfilasan shel tzadikim. HaKodesh Baruch Hu loves, he desires the tefillah of tzadikim. I don't think I said any chiddush. Comes the Shla HaKodosh, $1 million question, at least. He says, wait a second. There's some kind of a problem with your equation. Yaakov is not a tzaddik. Yaakov gets married, boom, kids start popping out. Wait a second. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu desires the prayer of tzaddikim, so how come Yaakov doesn't have to be standing there next to the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, going to Kivrei Tzaddikim, going to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, get brachos, all the sgulos? No problem. Either he's not a tzaddik. You know that's impossible because he is called Bechir HaAvois, the chosen one. Or saying that HaKadosh Baruch Hu desires the prayer of tzaddikim, it just doesn't work. How does that work? Pillei ploimo v'shayla, Shla HaKodosh. I love the question, but if you think the question is good, the answer. Says the Shla HaKodesh, HaKodesh Baruch Hu loves and desires the tefillah of tzaddikim. In Eretz Yisroel, not in Chutz La'aretz. Avraham Avinu, Sarah, Yitzhak and Rivka, they're here. They're in Eretz Yisroel. Ramat Bet Shemesh Gimel, you daven, he goes straight up. HaKodesh Baruch Hu loves that tefillah. A tefillah from Chutz La'aretz? We don't have a problem with Yaakov Avinu, he's the biggest tzaddik. But you're in Chutz La'aretz. He explains why. In Eretz Yisrael is governed by HaKadosh Baruch Hu directly. Mano a mano. In Chutz La'aretz, there's a minister that is in charge. HaKadosh Baruch Hu appoints ministers to run the place. When one davens in Chutz La'aretz, the tefillah ascends with some filth, dirt, associated with that minister of Chutz La'aretz. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't desire that tefillah. He says, with that we can understand what happens next week, Pasha. Rachel Imenu sees his sister, she's very jealous of her. She comes complaining to Yaakov. Hava li banim! Give me children. In other words, daven for me. V'im ayin, mesa anochi. And if not, I'd rather die. Yaakov's response, Vayicharaf Yaakov berachel. Why are you getting angry at her? Is it not a legitimate request? My dear husband, I don't have children. I know you're a tzaddik. Daven for me, I want to have children. Vayicharaf Yaakov berachel. He's upset at her. What did he say? Hatachas Elokim Anochi, Asher Manami Pri Baten, am I instead of God? That he denies you to have children? Says the Shla HaKodesh, you know what he was saying? Hatachas Elokim Anochi, am I under God? Am I in Eretz Yisrael? I'm not in Eretz Yisrael. He doesn't desire my tefillah. It has nothing to do with me. It's all about you. Asher Mana Mimech, he prevents you from having children. Listen, I don't know what it is. A punishment, you got to fix something, do tshuva, nothing to do with me. Yaakov Avinu knew the Gemara in Yevamos Samech Daled. The HaKadosh Baruch Hu desires the prayer of tzaddikim, but not in Chutz La'aretz. I once asked my Rebbe, Maran, Reb Chaim Kanievsky, Zatzal. I sent him a letter. I asked him, Rebbe, Ben Chutz La'aretz, you guys, comes to Eretz Yisrael. He's here, Pesach, Sukkot, one of the Yomim Tovim. Second day Yom Tov for him, which is for us, Yisroel Chag, weekday. He looks around and he says, am I crazy? I'm not going back. Does this halachic status change in the middle of the day? It's 1 p.m. What's the nafka mina? Last night, this guy made Kiddush. Second Yom Tov. We made Havdalah. I daven Shachris with Tefillin this morning. He daven Shachris and Musaf of Yom Tov. If you say, yes, his halachic status changes in the middle of the day, the nafka mina is, he has to do Havdalah now at 1 p.m. He has to daven Mincha of a weekday. Reb Chaim writes me in a letter. Ken Kach hora hachazonish datzal. Yes, that's what Chazonish instructed. Ad kan hakofe aleph. Now starts a coffee base. A few months later, I go in. Rebbe, this is what you told me last time. I want to ask you the reverse question. Ben Eretz Yisrael flies to Chutz La'aretz. He is there in Manhattan, New Jersey. He is there in Baltimore. Second day Yom Tov for them. For him, Yisroel. What do you do when your second day Yontif? You stay at home. You daven with tefillin, b'tzin'ah. Then you go to shul to hear Malayning, Kaddish, Kedusha. That's what he does. Last night, this guy made Havdalah. Yisuchak. While the Chutz La'aretz people made Kiddush, second Yom Yontif. 1 p.m. Somebody comes to him and says, listen, I'll make you an offer you cannot refuse. $100,000 a week if you're staying. 100,000? For 1,000 I'm staying. Does his halachic status also change in the middle of the day? Nefkamina. Last night he made Havdalah. 1 p.m. we're going to tell him, okay, you got to make Kiddush now and keep the rest of the day as a Yontif. You daven Shachis weekday, Mincha you're going to daven Yontif Mincha. Reb Chaim Kanievsky, Agodol ve'anoira. Reb Chaim is not a jokester. He looks at me and he says to me, Ken, aval hu meshuga. Yeah, his halachic status, you ask him, it changes, but he's nuts. So I left. Everybody in the room left. I said, Rebbe, lemaise. Last night this guy made Havdalah. Do you want him now to do Kiddush? Do you want him to daven Mincha, Ava Yontif? Chaim Kanievsky. Chaim Kanievsky. He looks at me and he says to me, אמרתי לך, הוא משוגע, הוא פטור מכל המצוות. That was his answer. I told you he's nuts. He's patof from kol mitzvahs. He's defined as a halachic fool. What's wrong with you? For $5 more you're staying in Chutz La'aretz? But we know, Brachos Daf Hey, the Gemara says that Eretz Yisroel is acquired through Yisurim. Why does it have to be like that? Kodesh Baruch Hu's palace. He wants people to come and live here. So why not just give it? No Yisurim attached. Why? The Michtav Meliyahu says a phenomenal idea. Baba Basra, Kuf Nun Ches Amud Beis, we learn, Avira, the Eretz Yisroel, Machkim. The air in Eretz Yisroel makes one wise. So what's going to happen to a person who makes Aliyah? Chidush Torah is going to start flowing from him while he's here. And he looks back at all his friends in Baltimore and in New Jersey and he says, it's going to cause him to be Gaiva. Baal Gaiva, we don't like Baal Gaiva. So Kodesh Baruch Hu gives some Yisurim to balance things out. Feel like flowing. But there's all kinds of Yisurim. When we say the word Yisurim, it doesn't have to be frightening. The Gemara in Erchin Daf Tet Zayin says, Ad heichan tachlis Yisurim. How exact and precise is strict judgment upstairs? And the Gemara says Yisurim can also be defined as a person who has to reach into his pocket and get 3 coins. Oy vey! Only 2 coins came out and he has to go again into his pocket. Terrible. That can be a Yisurim. It can only happen once. Who says it has to be more than that? We have 613 mitzvahs on the Torah. 1,000 mitzvahs derabbanan. Thousands. Can it be that a person does a mitzvah with all the kavanos? Before that, he goes to the mikveh 3 times. Puts on a gartel, a shtaimer, a bet kasher, whatever you want. L'shem yichud, meyached yichudim, mekaven kavanos, everything. All that he do impossible, and he's not going to get reward for this mitzvah. Can it be? You're sending us to Eruvin in Yerushalmi. Perek Gimel, halacha tes. Pilei ploi. The Gemara says, Amra Knesset Yisroel, Klal Yisroel say, you know why I had to go to Chutz La'aretz? Why was I expelled from the land? Because I didn't keep 1 day of Yontif as I was supposed to. That's why I had to get kicked out. Amra Knesset Yisroel, fine. So at least I'm going to be rewarded now that I have to keep 2 days in Chutz La'aretz. That's my punishment. I didn't keep 1 day, I have to keep 2. Fine. But little did I know, says the Gemara, Klal Yisroel say, I have to keep 2. That's as if my punishment. But I'm only being rewarded for 1 day. So you do all the kavanos and all the tikkunim and all the preparation and the cooking and the baking and you go to shul. No reward associated with it. Amish, unbelievable. Frightening. Tzitz Eliezer. Chelek Zayin, Simon Memches, he has a very long essay about the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. He finishes off by bringing the Chesed LeAvraham. Chesed LeAvraham, the grandfather of the Chidah, the greatest Mekubal of his time, about 400 years ago. And the Chesed LeAvraham, and the Tuv Haaretz brings this as well, and they're both disciples of the Arizal. Carries a lot of weight. And they both say, the end of days, when Mashiach comes with all the people from the Galuyos, they will see that their brothers and sisters in Eretz Yisrael have been transformed into spiritual beings, flying in the air, learning Torah from HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mouth. And the people from Chutz La'aretz, coming with Melech HaMashiach, are going to be upset with Melech HaMashiach and going to start yelling at him. That's the language of Chesed LeAvraham. Excuse me? Are we second-class citizens? What is this discrimination? Why can we be transformed into spiritual beings? And Melech HaMashiach will tell him, you know that everything HaKadosh Baruch Hu does is measure for measure. That's the way he conducts the world. Sanhedrin Daf Tzadi Amud Aleph, Chazal's language is Kol midoisav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not every so often, sometimes. Kol midoisav. That's how he conducts the world. Measure for measure, midah keneged midah. Your brothers and sisters, they came to Eretz Yisrael. They weren't afraid. Sometimes there's scuds. Sometimes there's Yechya Sinwar, Machshimoy Vezichroi. Lack of money. Back then, extremely dangerous just the way itself. Ships, who knows what's going to happen. Armed robbers on the way. It's dangerous. They weren't afraid. They were showing that they don't care about losing their body or their money. Because spirituality to them is, tops the line. Number one, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu does the midah keneged midah and turns him into a spiritual being. You guys that stayed behind and you show that physical matters, that's the most important thing to me. Spirituality, second best. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for you as well, midah keneged midah, and leaves you in your physical form. I think back then when he wrote it 400 years ago, hard to understand what he means when he says they're going to be flying in the air. I think now it's easy to understand. How'd you guys get here? You flew in the air. Midah keneged midah, you'll be flying in the air. Chesed Lev continues. The Gemara in Ksubis Kuf Yud Aleph says, one who lives in Eretz Yisrael, all his sins are erased. How is that possible? And why? The Chesed Le'Avrom is a lot of weight. Chesed Le'Avrom. He says the first night, after you make Aliyah, you get a new neshama. They take the old neshama, it goes up. When you go to sleep, it does not return. And that's the secret, he says, of a pasuk in Yeshaya Mem Beis pasuk Hey. Noisen neshama la'am aleha. He gives a new neshama to those who decide to dwell in this land. Mimele, just like a convert that converts, it's a new entity. Gershen isgaya kekatan shenoila, the language of the Gemara in Yevamos Tzadi Zayin. A person who makes aliyah gets a new neshama. He is sinless. He starts anew. Says the Chesed Le'Avrom, if somebody lives here, call him a tzaddik. Do not dare calling him a rasha. But wait a second. We see some people. They're not acting exactly like tzaddikim. Says the Chesed Le'Avrom, but if they weren't tzaddikim, the land would kick them out because that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says in his Torah. The land kicks out. It spits out those who don't behave accordingly. This is not a permission to drive to the beach on Yom Kippur that falls on Shabbos while eating shrimps. You're going to have to do some serious tshuva for that. But, he says, as long as the land didn't kick him out, you cannot call them L'shaim. I guess it has to do with Tirok Shenishba. He doesn't explain, but it's unbelievable. He continues. And the Tuv Haaretz says this as well. One who comes here, he wants to make aliyah. A little while later, I don't like it. I miss my house, my estate. I miss my 3 cars, sauna, jacuzzi, indoor, outdoor, basketball courts and pools, and he leaves. That night, when he gets to the border, they give him back his old neshama, they take away that good neshama. He says, one who stays in Eretz Yisrael, and he is happy with what he has, even if it's a house, a 1-bedroom, disgusting type of a shack, he will perceive it as if it's more luxurious than all the big palaces and estates that he had in Chutz La'aretz. That is his language. But if one leaves, he says, the Shechina pursues him, curses him, and he will lose all his assets. The reverse, somebody who comes here will be healed from all his ailments. I said this in the shir once. At the end of the shir, somebody comes to me with tears in his eyes, and he said, that's exactly what happened to me. I had major Crohn's disease, major. Shortly after I came, it disappeared. I'm already here 2 years. This is about 2 weeks ago, this fresh from the oven. He says, I'm about 2 years here. Shortly after I came, Crohn's disease disappeared. It just disappeared. The Crohn's disease doesn't go away. Chesed Le'Avrom says something, Tuv Haaretz, they know what they're talking about. But what about chinuch? You all have children? I'm worried about chinuch. A guy from England came, and he wanted me to go to Gedolei Yisrael, take him to Gedolei Yisrael. He is a menahel of a moisad in Manchester, very successful. I think it was 400 talmidim he had. He himself has 8 children. Some of them are in this moisad. Chash kanafsho, he wants to come to Eretz Yisrael. He has this urge. But he said, I'm very happy with the chinuch in Manchester, and I'm kind of worried about the chinuch in Eretz Yisrael. Also, the staff, the board, the Hanhala, they say I can't leave. I'm the one who made this yeshiva to be what it is today, so successful, and they say you can't leave. Is that a consideration? Does he have to listen to them? Is chinuch a consideration? Went to Reb Chaim Kanievsky. Said, Rebbe, does he have to listen to them? Said Reb Chaim, mitzvah sheyale, a mitzvah for him to come. We cross the street. I go to Reb Aaron Leib Steinman, Zatzal. So I explained the Maaseh, and I explained that he is worried about chinuch. Reb Steinman looks at him and he says to him, I'll say it in Hebrew and then I'll translate to English. אתה רוצה לומר לי שהמחנכים שלכם יותר טובים משלנו? You want to tell me your educators are better than ours? No, Rebbe, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. But למה I'm worried about the chinuch and that's all, you know. He repeats himself. אתה רוצה לומר לי שהמחנכים שלכם יותר טובים משלנו? You want to tell me your educators are better than ours? No. So I said to him, this was in the winter. So I said to him, Rebbe, so you should make aliyah? Of course. I said to him, it's in the middle of the school year now. It's winter. So right at the Elul, you should come. Next Elul. He says to me, no. I said, when? He says, yesterday. Ki mitzion teitze Torah. Tell Yisroel, the greatest tzionim, because ki mitzion teitze Torah. I asked Reb Chaim once about a Rav, a Kehila in the States. He wants to come to Eretz Yisrael. He has parents who are older, and they say, you can't leave. Can't leave. You have a mitzvah. You know what it's called? Kibud Aveim. Stay here. The Kehila says, you can't leave. We look at you as your role model, source of inspiration to all, young and old. You can't leave. He wanted to know if that is consideration. Reb Chaim tells me, mitzvah sheyale, a mitzvah for him to come. Why would we say that it's a mitzvah for him to come when his older parents saying, we want you to stay with us? Do you have to listen to a father that says to you, violate Shabbos? Why not? Daddy, you're also commanded to keep the Shabbos. Reb Chaim holds like the Chazon Ish's uncle, like the Vilna Gaon, like the Ramban, in that line of thought, maintains that mitzvah Yishuv Eretz Yisrael is a mitzvah esed dioraisa that applies to Zman Hazeh. Positive command from the Torah that applies today. All the calculations fall by the wayside. You're supposed to come here. I'm not talking if you're taking care of them, there's a medical issue and you can't leave. Literally, not talking about that. Just the fact. I'm sorry? That's a shayla you have to ask Reb Moshe Feinstein. Reb Moshe came up with an unbelievable chiddush. Unbelievable chiddush. Today's Friday. But Sunday morning, all the men have to be in shul, putting on tefillin. Whether you like it or not, that's called a mitzvah chiyuvis. No matter what. Kodesh Baruch Hu expects you to be in shul and put on tefillin. There's another type of a mitzvah, and that is called mitzvah kiyumis, meaning if you fulfill it, you get a check in the mail, but you don't have to. For example, mitzvah deoraisa from the Torah, mitzvah ese. It's called tzedakah. Greatest mitzvah, right? So what are you doing here? Go outside and look for a neem. I don't have to. If I do, I'm a tzaddik. But I don't have to. I can be involved in other things as well. That's called the mitzvah kiyumis. If I fulfill it, I'm doing a mitzvah. And Moshe has a chiddush. He views Yishuv Eretz Yisrael as a mitzvah kiyumis. If you do it, they're very happy with you upstairs. Probably send you a lot of good things. But you don't have to do it. That's a chiddush. There's a spectrum of opinions on this mitzvah. Whether it's a mitzvah derabbanon, mitzvah deoraisa. It's not a mitzvah deoraisa. It's a mitzvah deoraisa that applies to Zman Hazeh or not applies to that. Go ask the Satmar what they think. We have a lot of different opinions. I'm sharing with you the opinion of Reb Chaim, the Chazon Ish, the Vilna Gaon, the Ramban, that line of thought, and many others as well, of course. They maintain it's a positive. In fact, there's a guy who made aliyah from Lakewood. He lives here in Ramat Beit Shemesh. He asked me to take him to Reb Chaim. The whole time, the whole drive to Bnei Brak, he's practicing how he's going to say it. He wants to ask a question. So I tell him exactly how to say, what to say. We get there. I said, Rebbe, this is my friend from Lakewood. He just made aliyah. He wants to ask you a question. The guy, he froze. Was it Yiras Haroimemus? He said, it was awe. So I took over. And I asked Reb Chaim. He just came from Lakewood. In the yeshiva in Lakewood, they told him, you shouldn't go now. You shouldn't go now. You should wait. Mashiach comes, we'll all go together. You're not allowed to go now. Are they right? Khalila. Should come make aliyah now. I said, Rebbe, why are you saying this? Is it because you hold that it's a positive mitzvah deoraisa that applies b'zman hazeh? Says to me, yes. Pele Yoetz wrote many svarim. You know the Pele Yoetz, but one of his unknown svarim is called Oiros Eilim. And on page Kufnun 150, Pele Yoetz writes, if one looks at what Chazal discuss, the merits of living in Eretz Yisrael, the qualities, the virtues of Eretz Yisrael, the issue of Eretz Yisrael, he would stop at nothing to come to Eretz Yisrael. He would use any excuse and will not deny his coming because he loves money, because he loves physical matters, and he says because he loves his children. Hakol ke'ayin keneged chibas haaretz. Everything doesn't compare compared to the love one has to have to Eretz Yisrael. In fact, one of my chavrusos is an elderly man, 75 years old. He was a Rav many years in the States, has 12 children, 11 of them are in the States, one of them is here. He came to Eretz Yisrael because he loves Eretz Yisrael, and he mamish is applying what the Oros Elim says. Last thing, I'm guessing you did some traveling in these few days that you're here. You saw a lot of different things. Question, you see a building, not so impressive. Can you say, why didn't they build it this way? This is an ugly building. Are you allowed to say this? I'm not talking about people. We know, Lashon Hara. That's why we're still in Galus, 1957 years and change, because of Lashon Hara. Rechilus, machlokes, fine. I'm not going to have a machlokes with the building. I don't think the building is going to react. Is there an issue to discuss buildings in Eretz Yisrael? You're saying yes. It's a big chiddush. You have a source? You have a source? It's a base deal. We're asking based on proofs. You have a source? I'll give you a source, not to be believed. Ben Ishchai, in his Ben Yehoyada, and Ksubis Kuf Yud Beis Amud Beis. The Gemara there discusses the Amoraim, Rab Ami and Rabasi. They used to teach the Talmidim, if it was too sunny, they would move to a shaded place. If it's getting a little chilly, they would move to where the sun is. Why? Chas v'sholom. One of the Talmidim will say, oh, it's too hot in Eretz Yisrael. Oh, it's too cold. Chas v'sholom. Who cares? Says the Ben Ishchai, this comes to teach you Musa. One should not speak Lashon Hara. Not only about the people here, even about the air in Eretz Yisrael, even about buildings in Eretz Yisrael. Nothing. Not even about one Amma in Eretz Yisrael. And he says, even now in its destruction, when the buildings are occupied by Goyim, they're owned by Goyim. Chas v'sholom. You should all be zoiche to fulfill the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael with simcha, with ahava. In Mitzvah Hashem, it should be a very smooth and fast process. Bring nachas to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All the children in Mitzvah Hashem that you will bring here will adjust, will acclimate, will become luminaries of Torah. Tzadikim v'tzedkanios. Oiskim v'Torah. Mitzvahs in Mitzvah Hashem should only have nachas de kedusha.